are live. Chumash and Rashi, the Torah portion. Vayera. Well, we're in the middle of the second plague of frogs. Let us continue. Frogs here, frogs there. Frogs are truly everywhere. All right, let's get into the learning. There we go. Okay. We are in Shmos, the book of Exodus, chapter 8, verse number 7. Give me a second. Okay, there we are. Okay, so the frogs are already coming from the Nile, and yesterday, the end of the teachings of the verse was Pharaoh requesting, okay, I got your message. Please get rid of the frogs. Okay. And depart the frogs, mimcha. In other words, Moshe is saying, and Aaron actually, that the frogs will depart from mimcha, from you, and from your houses, and from your servants, and from your people. Tisharna. Only in the river they shall remain. No Rashi. Verse number 8. So Moshe and Aaron were now in front of Pharaoh, telling him, okay, your request, this is what we will do. So Moshe and Aaron, and they went and departed, Moshe and Aaron, from Pharaoh, Yitzhak, Moshe El Hashem. And Hashem cried out to God, Al Dvar HaTzvadim, concerning the frogs, Asher Sam Lefare, that were placed upon Pharaoh, brought upon Pharaoh. The Yitzhak. So Rashi brings up that he left, right? And he cried out, Miyad, immediately. That the frog should be translates over here disappear. It's interesting. It's sort of like cut away in a sort of literal translation, but it means disappear. Okay, verse number 9. V'yas Hashem kidvar Moshe. And Hashem did. V'yas means he did. Hashem, who God did. Kidvar Moshe, as requested by Moshe. V'yamusum. And they died. Hatzfardim. Tzfardim is, by the way, frogs. Mina batim, they died from the houses. Mina chatzeres, from the courtyards. Mina hasadis, and from the fields. Okay. V'yitzberu oisam, and they were gathered. Chamarim. So they were gathered, meaning the frogs were gathered by the Egyptians. It doesn't say Egyptians here, but that's the context. Oisam, chamarim, heaps and heaps. Bativash ha'aretz, and the bativash means it stank the land, right, from all of the frogs, dead frogs. Chamarim, Rashi says, tziborim, means heaps and heaps. Kitarguma, as Onkeles translates it, the Garin Gale, heaps. Okay. So this is the end of the second plague. V'yar, and he saw para. He saw that there was harvocha, a relief. And he hardened his heart, meaning He was obstinate, as it translates over here. And he didn't pay attention to them. He said, "I am go do this, and I'll be a good boy." Exactly as God said. This was the plan, right? Remember, Pharaoh is hardening his own heart here, right? God's not doing it, not in the first 5 plagues, as we. The Hachbeit, Rashi brings, Esli to make his heart heavy. This is similar to the infinitive form. Okay. Moving it steadily. And similarly, the Hakas is just bringing different examples, right? And asking for him, hitting the wounded. Again, some grammar over here. Okay. As just as God spoke, where did God say this? Lo yishma alehem pari. As the verse says, and he would not listen to them, Pharaoh. That was in chapter 7, verse 4. We're in chapter 8 now. Vayemer Hashem el Moshe. And now Hashem says to Moshe, we're coming up to the third plague. Emer el Aaron, say to Aaron, Netei matcha, stretched out, or raise rather, raise your staff, the hachis ha'ofar, and smite, or strike, the dust of the earth, and it will turn into lice, in the entire land of Egypt. Okay, Rashi 11 or 12 rather. Oops. Rashi in 12. So Moshe says, right, Emer el Aaron, say to Aaron. So Rashi's bother over here is why again? The first 2 plagues, we understand why Moshe was not the one who brought up the plague upon the Egyptians. It was Aaron. Why? Because it had to do with the Nile River. First, water turning into blood, the Nile, and secondly, that the frogs coming from the Nile River. So that was done through Aaron because Moshe was saved by the Nile River, and that is to show gratitude, right? Don't spit into the well that that gives you water. And here, though, Rashi has a problem. Or not a problem. He's explaining why is this through Aaron. Rashi says that it was not fitting that the earth, that the earth should be smitten, struck by Moshe, Allah, because it protected him, Shaharig is a Mitri, when he killed the Egyptian. And what did he do? He hit him when he killed him, he buried him in the earth, in the sand. So therefore it was the stricken, hit the earth through Aaron. Again, something that protected or helped save him. Okay, verse 13. Yaskin, and he did so. V'yed Aaron is Yadim. Aaron raised his hand b'matehu with his staff. V'yach is offer, and he smit the dust of the earth. Haaretz batila kinim b'odam, and it was kinim lice b'odam upon man, b'behema, and upon animal. Cholafar haaretz, and the entire dust of the earth. Hayakinim b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. There was lice throughout the land of Egypt. Eti kinim, Rashi in 13. Herchisha. Eti kinim means it means there was a swarm of tehi. What do you mean there was? lice. Means it was a swarm of lice. And in Old French, pidolior. Sure, I pronounced that wrong. Okay. So guess what? Vyasuche, and they did similarly. Hachartumim, the magicians, the sorcerers, the Egyptian sorcerers, Balatehem, with their incantations, Lohitzi Sakinim, to bring out, right, in the last two, they said they did similarly to bring out kinim, lice, below yochel, but they were not able to. And others, they tried to mimic or to do it in the, I should not mimic actually, because he did it, raised his staff. They didn't raise their staff. They had some time of incantations, but they weren't able to. But the kinim ve'adam v'behema, and the swarm of kinim was upon man and animal. Rashi. Here, Rashi in 14. Lahitzi sakinim, to bring out the lice, to create them and produce them from another place. And they were not able. Why? Rashi explains. The demons, shade means demons, has no control over any creature. Bria is a creature, pchusa, that's smaller than a barley corn. Oh, very small. So they couldn't do this. In other words, the magic that they could do, the incantations and sorcery that they could do, is not on something so small. So they responded now, the Khartoumim, these soothsayers, El Para Tefara, Etzbel Akimi. This is the finger of God. This is not black magic. This is not, this is the finger of God. And he hardened his heart, Pharaoh. And he didn't listen to them. Exactly as God said. Right? It's all going according to plan. Okay, Rashi in 15. Esbelakim, this is the finger of God. This is not through magic, but this is from God. And Parah did not listen. 16. And Hashem said to Moshe, Hashkim b'boiker, get up in the morning, mitzatzif lifnei Paro, and stand before Pharaoh. V'hinei yotza maima, and he's going out by the water. V'amar te'elov, remember, because he made himself like a god, right? And that he didn't need to relieve himself. Yotza maima, he's out by the water. V'amar te'elov, and say to him, and you shall say to him, Kay Amar Hashem, so says God, Shlach Ami, send out my people. Let my people go. The Abduni, that they should serve me. The placards always said, for Russian Jewry, let my people go, but they forgot the next word. She Abduni, that they should serve me. Verse 17. And for if you do not, Mishaleach, send down this Ami, my people, here I'm going to send to you. Excuse me. I'm going to bring upon you, Becha, in you, Bavadecha, and in your servants, and in your people, Vamtecha, and your houses, as a Ariv. I'm going to bring Ariv. Ariv means mixed. Kind of wild animals. Comes from the word mixture. And they will fill the houses of the Egyptians with this mixed wild beasts, V'gam ha'adama asher heim aleha, and also the earth that they are standing upon, right? You look at the, it's interesting in the translation that it gives over here. If you see there's, on the screen, you'll see that there's bold words. That's the translation. But the translation is done in proper English as opposed to the way I do it. As I've said many times, you have to remind everybody. Um, um, that I do it, try to do it literally so you get what the words are. But it's adding words like filled with snakes and scorpions. The verse doesn't say that. That's if you see is not in bold. That's going to be from Rashi's we're going to get some. Okay. Okay, let's go into Rashi. 17. I'm going to incite against you. We have a similar term. The word mashliach means I'm sending to you, against you. So Rashi explains in the context it means I'm inciting against you. And we see similar. And in Old French, inciter. Look at that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. Next Rashi. It's Arev. I'm sending again. The word Arev means a mixture. And Rashi explains it means all types of animals. Ra'is that are, wild beasts. And snakes and scorpions, barbuvia, and they're all going to come in a chaotic way. And they're going to wreak havoc. And there's an explanation over here in the Agada explanation. Why this one? Why that one? So listen to this interesting Rashi. Like, the plagues are not just plagues to wreak havoc. There's an order over here, and it's b'tachsisei hamelchama. It's war tactics. Ba'aleim, coming against him with war tactics. Keseder malchus shetzora alir, as when this a sovereign power, a king, is now coming and attacking a city, right? So this is war strategy. What's the first thing you do? The first thing you do is destroy their water source, right? You destroy, and that was the Nile turning into blood. And then what do? Then you blow blasts of the shofar, right? To intimidate and confuse them. And now to what the frogs did. They would croak, and make their noise. As brought that in the midrash, right? And so on. So that's the idea of also the wild animals that they wreak havoc. I will set apart by Yom on that day as Eretz Goshen, the land of Goshen. Share that my nation is standing there, or living there, dwelling there. Oimim means literally to stand, but in context it means to dwell there. The vilti sham, the vilti that there will not heyos be sham there. In other words, all of these mixed chaotic wild animals will not be there. Lamante, then or that you should know Kiani Hashem, that I am God, because Bara is in the midst of the land. Okay, let's see Rashi over here. Final Rashi for today. The first time he uses his terms, set apart. Hashem. We have similar idea that God will differentiate. Right? That's what we set apart, to differentiate. That it is not removed, separate from you. Just showing that the word hiflesi means set apart. and others in Goshen, where the Jewish people were living, it was set apart that this did not occur. The man Teda, in order that you should know, Keni Hashem, that I'm God. The Kerev Aretz, in the midst of the land. Interesting what Rashi says over here. It says that when my divine presence is in heaven, my decrees take effect down here on earth. That is, I am Hashem, which is the divine presence of God, which is above, is in the midst of the land, meaning don't think that I'm not in control down here, even though my presence is up there. Wow. Fascinating. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
We'll see you around around 10 o'clock or Tanya.